His name is Keith Gardner, aka Trinity. He had built a reputation in the Jamaica Constabulary Force, JCF, as a tough street cop. During the 40 years he had spent in the JCF, he had recovered hundreds of illegal firearms, got dangerous bad men off the streets, secured many convictions of criminals, and survived several shootouts with gunmen, plus being shot over 2 times by criminals. But in May of the year 1990, he got into a vicious fight with his wife, and a gun in his hand fired a shot into her side, killing her. Did Keith Gardner kill his own wife, or was it an accident? In this video, I look at how Keith Gardner, aka Trinity, got into the deadly fight with his wife, how she was shot, and the court case that followed. I am Nigel D. Salmon. Welcome to Jamaican Chapter. It was Wednesday, May 2, 1990. 37-year-old policeman Keith Gardner, popularly known to the public as Trinity, was at home with his wife. Her name, Sonia Angela Gardner, affectionately called the Princess. Also on the property at 26 Mona Road, Kingston 6, were their children, Earl Williams, the security guard, Barrington McGregor, also called Barry, he was the driver and mechanic, and the 2 helpers. Inside the bedroom, Trinity was lying on the bed, and his wife Sonia was lying and relaxing on the carpet floor. The Wednesday evening was quiet and everything was ordinary. Trinity had not been on police duty since April 19, 1990. So for the last 12 days, he was staying at home. Why was he off police duty? He was sent home on sick leave because he was suffering from a broken toe, bruised and torn right ligament. The injuries were caused by a motor vehicle accident. So he was off duty because he was injured. No doubt the sick leave was a big relief for Trinity, who was a detective assistant superintendent at the time. The time off duty also gave him opportunity to spend quality time with his wife and children. It was about 3:30 p.m. on that Wednesday evening. By this time, Trinity and his wife were relaxing on the couch in the living room and watching TV. Yes, they had moved from the bedroom and were now in the living room on the couch, relaxing and watching TV. Then the telephone rang. No one knew it at the time, but this telephone call was about to cause a deadly family disaster. The telephone was in the parents' bedroom. That's Trinity and his wife's bedroom. Trinity's eldest daughter, 15-year-old Claudine Gardner, a student of Campion College, was in that bedroom. So she answered the phone. The caller on the other end was a woman who asked to speak to Trinity, and she refused to give young Claudine her name. Claudine Gardner, stepdaughter to Sonia, went to the living room and told her father, Trinity, that a woman was waiting on the phone line to speak to him, but refused to say her name. Suffering from the broken toe and torn right ligament, Trinity asked his wife Sonia to answer on the phone. This was a big mistake. The 35-year-old Sonia, who was 4 months pregnant at the time, went to the bedroom to talk with the caller. Shortly after, Sonia was heard shouting on the phone and asked the anonymous caller why women like her always call the home and tormenting her. Sonia slammed down the phone and shouted, "Trinity, come and answer your woman and tell her to stop calling my house." That was her exact words. Trinity slowly got up off the couch. He hopped into the bedroom. He picked up the phone and said hello 3 times. But by this time, the woman on the other end had hung up. Sonia, huffing and puffing, walked back to the living room with heavy steps. She was angry. She began cussing out her husband for being unfaithful in their marriage. Her voice became loud. Poor Trinity put back down the phone and began hopping back to the living room with his sore toe. He must have looked too calm in the given situation, which no doubt would anger Sonia even more. She began flinging figurines at him. The figurines were from the center table in the living room. As Trinity hopped to one side to avoid a figurine, another was thrown at him, forcing him to hop to the other side. As the flinging and hopping went on in the living room, 15-year-old Claudine stood looking in confusion. She did not know what to do in this situation between her father and stepmother. Another child in the home, 10-year-old Damian Gardner, was eating dinner in his room. And he continued to eat, probably believing the heated situation will soon end and everything would go back to normal. Back in the living room, Sonia's anger only kept increasing. She picked up Trinity's 9mm semi-automatic pistol from the couch and pointed it at him. According to Trinity's account of the incident, Sonia then said, "Trinity, me tired of you woman dem a call me and abuse me and me a go kill you." That was her exact quote. It was obvious that Sonia was speaking from bottled up emotions over her husband's alleged affairs with other women. Trinity replied, "Princess," her nickname was Princess, "stop the foolishness. I don't know who called." It must be noted that Sonia Gardner was experienced with guns. She had training in the use and care of firearms. And at the time, she was the director of a security company that she and Trinity operated called Dar Al-Sada Security Company Limited. This was a woman who knew how to effectively use a firearm, and Trinity was fully aware of this. Not certain whether or not his wife would pull the trigger, Trinity, an experienced police officer, cautiously approached his pregnant wife. He grabbed her hand and immediately a struggle began, a physical fight. Trinity and his wife struggled in the living room for the gun. The center table got pushed away. Things pitched over and broke as the two struggled, and the struggle intensified. Sonia's hand tightened on the loaded 9mm semi-automatic pistol, while Trinity desperately tried to pry it from her hands. The married couple, married for the last 14 years, struggled back and forth, sideways and across the carpet living room for possession of the gun. It was a serious struggle. 15-year-old Claudine Gardner watched with trepidation. She feared that at any time now something terrible was gonna happen. For more than a minute, the two struggled for the loaded gun. Then Sonia did the unthinkable. She rammed her left foot on Trinity's sore toe, and all the pain from the sore toe went straight to Trinity's head. Trinity's temper doubled at this time, and he made one swing of her hands. He and his wife went down to the floor. 10-year-old Damian Gardner, who was still eating his dinner, was frightened by the sound of a gunshot. The boy jumped to his feet and ran towards the living room. He saw his mother running without the gun and cried, "Damian, your father shot me." The 4 months pregnant Sonia Gardner collapsed to the floor, bleeding badly. Trinity was at this time in shock. Damian, a student of St. Peter and Paul Preparatory School, and Claudine began crying. Trinity quickly gathered help to get Sonia to the hospital. A truck was in the yard, and they decided to use it to get her to the hospital. Earl Williams, security guard, along with the 2 helpers, got Sonia into the back seat of the small truck, and Barrington McGregor, the driver, got into the driver's seat. They drove to the university hospital. But sadly, it was too late. 35-year-old Sonia Gardner was pronounced dead on arrival. With her death, the 4-month-old baby inside her also perished. The body of Sonia was placed back into the truck and driven by Barrington McGregor to the Papine police station. There, at the Papine police station, the truck parked with Sonia's dead body for over 2 hours until an undertaker came for it. Sonia Gardner, the mother of Duane, Damian, Keisha, Natasha, Satine, and Marcia, including the 4-month-old, died tragically. Then came the big question. Was Sonia shot accidentally, or did Trinity murder her? The police investigation began. Understanding the complexity of the situation he was in, Trinity got a lawyer. Tom Tavares Finson. Trinity was first taken to the commissioner's office on Old Hope Road. Because he was assistant superintendent, he had to report to the commissioner in such a serious allegation against him. At the commissioner's office, Trinity was asked 15 questions by the deputy commissioner and was advised by Tom Tavares Finson not to answer them. Trinity was then detained. Top detectives from CIB headquarters, ballistic experts and personnel from the police forensic laboratory examined and searched Trinity's residence for clues to how the shooting happened. On May 4, 1990, an autopsy was carried out on Sonia's body by Dr. Royston Clifford, consultant forensic pathologist, and what he concluded in the autopsy report sharply contradicts what Trinity claimed happened in the living room. Reports from top detectives assigned to the case, assisted by forensic experts, also contradict Trinity. Things were not looking good for Trinity. After analysis of statements were collected by the police and of the scientific evidence, the file was submitted to the Director of Public Prosecution to make a ruling. The Director of Public Prosecution, Mr. Glenn Archadi, QC, ruled on Friday, May 25, 1990, that Detective Assistant Superintendent Keith Gardner, aka Trinity, should be charged with murder of his wife. But the ruling of the DPP could not be acted upon immediately. Trinity was a high-ranked member of the Jamaica Constabulary Force, JCF, and the JCF has internal procedures that must be followed in such a matter. The then Commissioner of Police, Herman Emmanuel Ricketts, after reading the file on the case and the DPP's ruling, gave his directive for an arrest warrant to be prepared against Trinity. The 37-year-old Trinity was formally charged on May 28, 1990, for murder of his 35-year-old wife. He was released on a $300,000 bail with condition that he reports to the Matilda's Corner police station every Friday. Within days after being charged for the murder of his wife, Trinity got baptized in the North Street Seventh-day Adventist Church and began professing Jesus as Lord and Savior. One of Jamaica's toughest policemen, in times of trouble, seek Jesus. So let's look at the main details of this story. May 2, 1990, Trinity and Sonia got into a physical struggle because of a telephone call from an anonymous woman. A gun was involved, and during the struggle, Sonia was fatally shot. Trinity called his lawyer before he was taken to the commissioner's office, where he gave a cautioned statement. That is his account of what had happened. He was detained that same day. May 4, 1990. An autopsy was performed on Sonia's body by Dr. Royston Clifford, consultant forensic pathologist, who concluded that death was due to a single gunshot wound to the left chest. Dr. Clifford said that the bullet which hit Sonia was a copper-coated 9mm bullet which entered her body through the left side, traveled upwards, shattered a chamber of her heart, and exit through the center of her chest. After the bullet exited her chest, it lodged into a wall of the living room where she was shot. The doctor further concluded, in his opinion, that the injuries he saw on Sonia's body could not have been caused during a struggle. May 25, 1990. The Director of Public Prosecution, Mr. Glenn Andrade QC, ruled that Trinity be charged with murder. May 28, 1990. Trinity was in hospital being treated for diabetes and hypertension when he was taken out and brought to the St. Andrew Criminal Court in Halfway Tree, where he was granted bail in the sum of $300,000 with one or two sureties. A condition of bail was that he reports to the Matilda's Corner Police Station on Fridays. At this point, Trinity had lost some weight. The stressful situation was affecting his health. July 29, 1990. Trinity got baptized on the night of Sunday, July 29, 1990. On Wednesday, October 10, 1990, the preliminary inquiry into the death of Mistress Sonia began. The preliminary inquiry began on Wednesday, October 10, 1990, and occurred on several dates, the last being on December 11, 1990, when Trinity was told that a prima facie case had been made out against him, and that Monday, January 7, 1991, was the date set for it to begin. After the prima facie case, Trinity was ordered to return to court on February 18, 1991 for the start of the full trial. Before the incident with his wife, Trinity's appearance in court was a display of confidence, authority, a smiling face, and flamboyance as he rode to court on his motorbike to testify against various criminals. But during the period of his murder trial, facing the court for murder of his own wife, Trinity was reduced to a worried man. And more than once, he broke down in tears as he sought to convince judge and jury of his innocence. The court trial began on February 18, 1991, and came to an end on Wednesday, February 27, 1991. The murder trial lasted for 6 days. 6 different days Trinity had to face the court, fearing the worst. The jury was made up of 8 men and 4 women. Mr. Justice Theobald presided. The prosecution was led by Hugh Wildman and Michael Palmer. Defense attorneys were Frank Phillips, QC, K. Churchill Nita, and Tom Tavares Finson. During the period of the trial, 13 prosecution witnesses were called. The court also heard from ballistic experts, the first policeman who arrived at the house, that's Detective Corporal Louis Brown, and the court also heard from one consultant forensic pathologist. Trinity also took the stand in his defense and broke down in tears. In a desperate attempt to win, defense attorney Frank Phillips, QC, made a no-case submission, but it was rejected by the judge, who made it clear that Trinity had a case to answer. The prosecution appeared to have the upper hand, calling for more supporting witnesses than the defense could. With a pending verdict that could swing any side, Trinity knew his police career, his reputation, and his freedom was seriously on the line. Plus, 1991 was a year when the death sentence was still being handed down on convicted murderers. The verdict. When the case was handed over to the jury, the 8 men and 4 women took only 17 minutes to return their decision. Not guilty. The then 38-year-old Keith Trinity Gardner walked from the home circuit court a free man. The funeral for the late Sonia Gardner and her unborn 4-month-old baby was held on Thursday, May 10, 1990 at St. Peter and Paul Roman Catholic Church, Old Hope Road. Trinity did not attend the funeral and burial. It would no doubt be very awkward for him. But that was not the reason why he never went to the funeral. While Sonia's funeral and burial happened, Trinity was in hospital being treated for hypertension and diabetes.